Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, public holiday Monday, Easter Monday, and I thought I would just come and have a cuppa with you. I should let you know that this cup is a lie. There is no peppermint going on in there. That's all coffee, and it's delightful. Hope you have had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I know I got to spend some time with family and create some music. Why I wanted to come on and do a Facebook Live is because I wanted to share with you some news about my upcoming single, make an announcement, and share with you some secret success tips that I've been learning for the last few years, and is really changing the trajectory of where I'm going with my life and my career, personally, professionally, and all. So tune in wherever you are, get a cuppa, and join me. On Friday, the 26th of April, I am releasing a new single. It's called Red Cat. It is about driving. This is a true story. This is about driving around Paris in a 1953 red Jaguar convertible. This truly happened. And, when I came and I wrote the song in, a few minutes flat, actually. It was just one that just dropped in really easily, which, always for me is a sign that it's going to connect with others really easily as well. And it's a song that I really enjoyed playing in my live sets. I usually ended up finishing my sets with it. People loved it. They asked for it. They requested it. So I knew there was something in this song. If you've been following my music for the last 12 years, or even 5 of those, or even a handful of those, you'll know that I've got lots of EPs, lots of albums, lots of singles out, and lots and lots of music out, but it's been a little while in between releases. And the reason for that is the last album I released, so the large body of work that I released, was 3.5 years ago, which is quite a long time ago, and I have released singles in between. But the reason that it's taken so long to be releasing more music, it's because the cost of me recording and releasing my album, actually just the cost of recording my album, was 27,000 Australian dollars. And that is a huge amount of money. Now, I am super, super, super thrilled with how that recording, that album came out. Own Self is the album. I'm super thrilled with how it came out. I just absolutely love it. But I can't afford $27,000 every time I want to make an album. And so then I would go into, then I went on these single projects. I would do some singles and but it was still a couple of $1,000s every time I wanted to make a single. And I just thought, I am young. I'm still early in my career. I want to be making music forever. How can I be making music forever? How can I be doing this sustainably? How can I, I actually made $12,000 on my album. So $27,000 I spent on it, but I made $12,000. Now, anyone knows anything basic about business, that's not a great business model at all. I mean, most people would be thrilled to make $12,000 from an album, but it's not a lot of money. So, and when you spend more than double that making it, it's actually not a great investment at all. So I wanted to be really smart about how I was going to do it. So hi, if you're watching, I actually don't know how to see who's watching, but hello, who's watching? I can just see there's people watching. So what I decided to do was to find a way to move forward without spending large sums of money. And so what I went on was a quest to learn the things, or at least get closer to being able to do the things that were costing money for me. And that was recording, so the engineering, the production, studio costs, people playing costs. Now, in the last 3 years, you might also know that I've taught myself guitar. Now, that wasn't necessarily a conscious choice in order to be more flexible with recording. In fact, it was more of a songwriting tool, and because I'd always wanted to learn the guitar. So I went on a quest to learning the guitar. So I figured if I can learn how to write a song every single week in an hour, which is something that I've been doing nonstop for 4.5 years, if I can learn to play guitar, if I can learn French language, then surely I can learn the skills to teach myself how to record and to produce and those things. So I went on a quest to be able to do that. And so for the last year, I really got stuck in, I say stuck, that's probably, I mean that in 2 ways. There were some ways that I got stuck, which was to not do the thing because it was too hard to do the thing. And the idea of learning this was just terrifying. But then there were times when I got really stuck into it, where I really dug my teeth in, and I really got excited by, the concept that I could just play around with this and see what happened when I started plugging in, you know, my vocals into GarageBand using my gigging mic. Like, this is actually my story. So I used GarageBand, which is on my Mac, which I've had for years and years and years and years and years. I bought an audio interface, which did cost $220. Hey Jared, how you going? And I plugged in my 87A Beta Shure mic, which I've been using for gigs for years. It's a condenser mic. But I just thought, you know, like, I don't want to be going to spend a lot of money on Rode mics and ribbon mics and all these fancy mics. I wanted to see what I could do with what I had. And as it turns out, I had enough to really do something that I was happy with. So Red Cat, which is the single coming out on Friday coming up, I recorded this song myself mostly. Then I did get some help from somebody to help me with the skills that I didn't quite have. So it was in December. Actually, I really started working on this, recording this from September to December. And what I mean by I started working on it, I've recorded it 3 times because the tempo wasn't right. And when the tempo is not right, you have to do the whole thing, you know. So I sat with the tempo for a while because, you know, normally I would have a band to bounce ideas off and hear this, but I really had to sit with it myself. So the process for me was a little longer because of the tempo thing. You know, I actually recorded 3 times at 3 different tempos until I arrived at something that I just knew was the right tempo for the song. And we're talking like the difference between 2 beats per minute. Like, it was a small change, but it really affected, you know, the groove and the feel of the song. So in December, that was the one that I went with, and I was in Paris, and I was in an Airbnb that I rented that overlooked rooftops. And I plugged in my gear, which I actually take on the road. It takes up a very small amount of room in my suitcase, and it's not very heavy at all. And I put all my winter coats and towels from the apartment and sheets into the wardrobe, and I made myself a little booth, and I recorded this. And I was super thrilled with, you know, because I'd been working on those skills for the past 6 months or a year. I was really thrilled that I was able to get a great result. You know, in the beginning it was like, you know, how do I sing into the mic and also adjust my volume at the same time? It was all those things that, you know, it was messy. It was a really messy process, as is any creative process or any learning process. It's super, super messy. And so at this point in December, because I'd been doing it for so long, it was less messy, and it was a little bit more like I knew what to expect. I knew what levels to set. I knew how to test things, and I started getting it right, which really excited me. So I also started recording a lot more at that point. And I went to a friend. So at this point I had guitars, percussion, vocals, the lead part, and all the backing vocals. And I went to a friend and I said, look, I don't have the skills to take this further. You know, there are still some production ideas here that I can't articulate, and I also would like some help mixing this. And so I went to my awesome friend, Tommy Spender, who's part of Mama Kin Spender. And Tommy, you know, we just worked over email. He was based in Melbourne at the time, but now is based in Perth, and I'm based in Paris or Brisbane, God knows where I am. And, you know, we sent files back and forth, and, you know, he helped modernize my percussion because mine was a little bit old school, which wasn't a bad thing, but it was not necessarily where I wanted to take it. So he helped me articulate that idea, and also just really reinforced, you know, like, hey, Francesca, that's a really awesome vocal take, and I can totally use that. Because for me, I was just wondering, you know, is it possible to use a recording that I did in my wardrobe in my Airbnb? And he really reassured me that that absolutely is possible, because what we're really looking for, and it's something that I always knew, but is a really great performance. You know, and he even went so far as to reassure me to say that, Francesca, even if you had your performance on your iPhone, we could do something with it. If it was the best performance that, you know, that it absolutely sold the song, that's what we would use. Somehow we would use it. And so that just really got me excited. And so what I did next, I tell you what, I came back to Australia in January and I redid all the backing vocals because I wanted a little bit more texture with what was going on. So I took myself down to my basement car park. And now this one's hilarious, this story. So it's like, you know, high-rise apartments with, you know, big car parks. You know, think of movie scenes where dodgy things happen in the car parks. It's kind of like one of those car parks, full of concrete, full of cars. So I put my computer on my car. I brought my vocal mic down. I brought the audio interface down. And I just did all these boomy backing vocals in my garage. And, normally I would have thought, it needs to be a really dry space, or you got to be able to, so that you can do things with it in post. And I just thought, screw that. I can do anything I want creatively. And so I did all these really wild backing vocal takes in my garage in a car park. And I was actually a little disappointed that nobody came and saw, because I was really prepared to kind of involve people if they came down, but they didn't come down, but that's okay. But I was there for about an hour and I did all these vocals, and I actually also did them on my iPhone just for another texture, and I added that all to the GarageBand file, which I sent to Tommy, which he then converted into Logic Pro, and did things with them so that they all appear in this in the backing vocals or in the track for Red Cat. So that track is coming out on Friday, and also I've got a really exciting music video. It's an illustration and animation, so I'm going to do another live later in the week to explain how that happened to be, because it's not, you don't. As a musician, I don't necessarily have in my community loads of illustrators and animators, so I want to share that story of how I pretty much went through about 15, that was actually incorrect, 15 illustrators before I came across these guys that worked on this project, which I'm super, 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 super grateful for, because it's beautiful and it's exactly what I want. So I wanted to just share how I did my... I'm like, I haven't finished that coffee yet. Sorry, guys. I wanted to share how I did that single recording, and I went from spending $27,000 on an album, on a 13-track album, to a couple of $100 to learn this myself. Of course there are some costs involved. I'm paying somebody to work with me, but there's my time, my skill that's risen to the point where I can articulate my creative ideas in production, in recording, and it excites me so much. So, now my creative practice involves what can I do with this at a production level. And I just think that that's really the beginning of getting exactly where you want to go to in life. If where you want to go to in life is not where you are now, then what are the skills that you need to learn in order to become the person that you need to be that's going to be able to do that? And I'm on a super fast pace, pumped up version of that, because I want to get there as fast as I can, because I freaking love it. It's exciting. And I'm making a whole album, and I'll be recording most of that myself, and obviously getting help with the part of the skill set that I've not yet developed in order to be able to develop that. And maybe in 5 years I'll be doing this all myself. And maybe this is not your journey, maybe this is not what you want, and that's that's great, that's fine. Don't do what you don't want to do, but what it is that you want to do, just take steps regularly in the direction of that. Have a plan. Don't feel like, oh, that's so awesome to hear, Jerry, you've been going through similar realizations. Yeah, you can do this. I did another, just Jerry, what you were saying there, I went back to Paris. I was there for 2 weeks, and I really wanted to capture in the space that I was in, another track that I recorded. And I actually was really sick. I had a really bad fever, but I just was in this space. When you're in a fever, you kind of get in a little zone. And I recorded this track, and my vocals are not perfect, but they are so perfect in another way. They are so perfect. I don't want to touch them. I just, even it's in French language, and the French is not perfect. My vocals aren't perfect. The pitch is not perfect, but there is something so utterly perfect about that. I didn't even do it into clothes. I did it in an open space, and I just think that is the performance I want on the album. That is got something really special and full of heart. So whatever it is that you want to do, I think we make a big deal about it. We make this huge big deal about the things that we need to do as being this big leap, this big chasm. But if you take regular steps in the direction of what you want to be doing and have a plan, and you take, the plan has those action steps planned out, and you are taking those steps, the faster you go, the faster you're going to get there, really. And, for those, I'm loving, getting messages for people saying that they're loving what I'm doing and how inspiring I am. But really what I'm doing is my wildest creative dreams. This is my dream. This is what I want for me. And I don't want to wait till I'm, mid 40s and 50s before I go, oh, I'm going to start living that. Because for me, that would be so unsatisfying. So just do whatever it is that you want to be doing now. Take small steps. Do it regularly every day, every week, without fail. Like, I know that it might sound completely obsessive compulsive that I've written a song every single week in an hour for the last 240 weeks. But quite honestly, it takes 1 hour out of my week. I'm constantly moving in the direction that I want to go. And like, why wouldn't you do that? It takes 1 hour a week. Why wouldn't you be working towards the steps that you want to take to be getting where you want to go? And I think that that's just the difference between people who are complacent and people who are really going for it. So if you want to be really going for it, I really, really, really want to inspire you to be doing that. I've absolutely been completely honored to be actually working with singer-songwriters and musicians from all around the world and helping them making plans to be going for it in their career, and holding them accountable to doing that and keeping them motivated to do that, answering their questions, solving their problems for them. And often we get in our own way, and how we get in our own way is around fear. It's around what we feel like we don't have enough of. And oftentimes that fear is made up. It's not even true. And when you really start to confront that fear and you move it out of the way, then your potential is completely unlimited. And I'm really playing with that. I'm getting really obsessed with that, and it's really exciting me. I know there's lots of awesome creative people watching this. If this is inspiring you, if you would actually be keen to have a chat with me about what it looks like to have a plan for you to achieve what it is that you want to achieve and how quickly you could do that, I would actually really be open to doing that. Just send me a private message, and we can set up a time to have a conversation, because I believe nothing more that we as humans have unlimited creative potential, and it's up to us whether we want to just go for it or not. So I really just wanted to get on and do a live about my single launch, but I can't help sharing other things that just fortunately help others as well. So please, when my single comes out on the 26th, which is this Friday, share it with everybody, because the more people that get to hear what I've made, then the more people that I get to touch with my story, and the more people I get to touch and inspire them. So if you're loving what I'm doing, please share that. That really, really would mean a lot to me. And I'm going to come on and do another live in the middle of the week around how my music video came to be. And this song really excites me. I am an animated illustration. This is very cool. All right, beautiful people. Thank you so much for watching. This is great. It was a very spur of the moment thing to do a live, and I'm really glad I did. All right, well, you all have a wonderful public holiday. I'm going to go and do some creative work. So maybe you could too. All right, till next time. Mwah.